Sir, my dad had the same tattoo.
What? What was his name?
Sometimes the most unexpected stories begin with the smallest voice. Sometimes a quiet sentence changes the air around tough men who thought they'd seen everything. And sometimes, a mystery walks into your life wearing a backpack, holding a soda, and carrying a past nobody expected. Before we dive into the story, I want to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city and country in the comments right now. Are you watching from your living room in Texas, your kitchen in London, your office break room in Canada? Let me know, because this story about courage, community, and protection is universal. It crosses borders. And I want to see how far this message reaches today. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our new stories. All right, let's go back. It was late afternoon in a small American town called Ridgefield, a place where motorcycles were as common as pickup trucks and everyone knew everyone. The streets hummed with the low growl of engines, and people often said you could tell what time of day it was just by the sound of bikes rolling past. Outside Wilson's diner, four bikers sat around their motorcycles. These weren't wild outlaws. They were men who carried their past like scars and their loyalty like armor. Their names were Jack Dalton, Marcus Hale, Ethan Brooks, and Cole Ramirez. They were part of a close-knit riding club known as the Brotherhood, men who believed in helping their community more than causing trouble. They were laughing, teasing each other, and talking about weekend rides until they noticed her. A small black girl, maybe 10 or 11, stood near the sidewalk. She wore worn-out sneakers, a faded yellow hoodie, and a pink backpack that looked too heavy for her small shoulders. She wasn't scared, but she wasn't completely comfortable either. She just watched them. Jack noticed first. "Kid looks lost," he muttered. Marcus squinted. "Nah, she ain't lost. She looks like she's thinking." The girl took a small breath, then walked forward. She stopped right in front of them, and the world somehow went quieter. Her eyes went straight to Marcus's forearm, specifically to a tattoo, a detailed black ink wings and chain design wrapped around his arm. It wasn't the kind of tattoo people just happened to match. The girl swallowed and spoke softly but firmly. "Hi, sir. My dad had a tattoo just like yours." All four bikers froze, not blinked, not shifted. Froze. Marcus slowly lowered his arm like he suddenly felt its weight. They shared confused looks, because this wasn't some random tattoo, this wasn't a trend. This particular marking belonged to only a few people, a select group from years back, men who had gone through things together that weren't spoken about in casual conversations. Jack knelt down slightly. "Sweetheart, what's your name?" "Ariana Parker," she replied, "but everyone calls me Ari." "And your dad?" Marcus asked quietly. She hesitated, then said a name that slammed into their chests like thunder. "My dad's name was Daniel Hawk Parker." The air changed instantly. Marcus's jaw tightened. Ethan nearly dropped his cup. Cole looked away. Jack whispered, "No way," because that name wasn't forgotten. Not by them, not ever. Ariana didn't know why they reacted like that. She just clutched her backpack tighter. "My mom says he was gone a long time ago, but she never tells me why. She only said he knew people like you." Marcus's eyes softened, and something painful flickered in his stare, because Daniel Hawk Parker wasn't just somebody. He was once one of them, but something had happened years ago, something buried, something dangerous, something unfinished. Ari looked at them with quiet hope. "Do you guys know him?" And in that moment, these hardened bikers realized life had just handed them a responsibility they never expected. A child standing alone, a past they tried to forget, and a truth that might tear open old wounds. But why were these men so shaken by that name? What history is hiding in the shadows? And what trouble has quietly followed this little girl without her knowing? Because when the past knocks on the door wearing innocence and fear, the real storm hasn't arrived yet. Silence wrapped around the group like a heavy blanket. The rumbling sounds of nearby traffic faded, the distant chatter from the diner blurred out, and all that existed in that moment was a little girl asking about a man whose name had never truly left their hearts. Jack was the first to breathe again. He cleared his throat slowly. "Yeah, we knew him," he said softly. Ari's eyes brightened with sudden hope. Then maybe you can tell me something about him." Her voice shook slightly, like she was trying to sound brave, but her heart was still trembling. "My mom always avoids talking about him. I only know he was brave and people respected him, but I never got to meet him." Marcus swallowed hard. His voice came out quieter than usual. "Ari, when's the last time you saw your mom?" Ari shifted nervously. "This morning. She asked me to come wait near the diner. She said someone here would recognize the tattoo and help me." Then she told me she'd come back for me. Her fingers twisted into her sleeves. But it's been hours. That sentence hit differently. Jack and Marcus exchanged a sudden look. Cole muttered under his breath, "That's not good." Ethan leaned in gently. "Hey, sweetheart, do you live far from here?" Ari shook her head. "We moved around a lot. Mom said it wasn't safe to stay in one place too long. Something about people watching us I didn't understand." Marcus's jaw locked. This wasn't just a reunion story. There was a reason Hawk's daughter had been brought here, and her mother clearly trusted only one group of people. The same men who once stood beside Hawk when things were dangerous. Jack forced a calm smile. "It's okay, you're safe now, we promise. Nobody's going to hurt you while we're standing here." Ari nodded, believing them in a way only a child could instinctively, but deep inside every biker there felt something else. A responsibility, a weight. A question resurfacing from a past they had buried. Marcus took a step forward and knelt to meet Ari at eye level. "Ariana, your dad, Hawk, he wasn't just some writer. He saved lives, he protected people, he was loyal, fearless, and stubborn." A faint, broken smile appeared. "He was our brother." Ari smiled sadly. "Mom always said he was a hero, but heroes never leave their families, right?" Those words sliced through Marcus like glass. Jack closed his eyes for a second. Because reality was cruel. Sometimes heroes didn't get happy endings. Sometimes they disappeared to keep others safe. Sometimes they paid the price for being loyal. Marcus placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Your dad loved you more than anything, and if he isn't here, it wasn't because he chose to walk away." Ari's lips trembled. She had waited years to hear someone say that. Before anyone could say more, the faint echo of a motorcycle engine approached from a distance. Not strange in this town, but something about it made Cole stiffen. Ethan noticed it too. That sound, that engine tone, you don't forget that. Jack turned sharply. A sleek black motorcycle rolled past slowly, the rider's helmet visor down, moving just slow enough to scan the area, then speeding off again. Ari froze slightly. "Mom said there might be people looking for me, and if I ever saw someone acting strange, I should stay close to the men with the tattoo." Marcus's heart pounded harder. So this wasn't coincidence, this was planned. Ari's mother had sent her here because she trusted the only people who could protect Hawk's daughter. Jack straightened. "We're not letting her out of our sight." Ethan nodded. "Agreed." Cole rolled his shoulders like he was preparing for whatever came next. "Looks like the past finally came knocking." Marcus looked at Ari again and forced a light smile to keep her calm. "Hey champ, you hungry?" Ari hesitated, then nodded. "Good," Marcus said gently. "Because you're with family now." But deep down, every one of them knew the truth. If someone was watching Ari, if someone was following her, then the danger wasn't just near. It was already here, and whatever happened to Hawk wasn't a closed story. It was just waking back up. Because when a ghost from the past returns in the form of a child asking for protection, fate is rarely kind, and the truth waiting ahead isn't going to be gentle. Inside Wilson's diner, the world felt warmer than the cold air and colder fears outside. The smell of burgers, fries, and fresh coffee filled the air. Conversations buzzed, unaware of the quiet storm sitting in booth number 7. Ari sat between Marcus and Jack, her fingers nervously tracing the edge of the table. She hadn't said much since they brought her inside, but the way her eyes scanned the windows showed she wasn't just a child anymore. Life had pushed her to grow up faster. A waitress named Linda, a kind woman in her 40s who knew the bikers well, approached with a soft smile. "Anything for the little lady?" Ari tried to smile politely. "Could I get fries and maybe a chocolate shake?" "You can get whatever you want, sweetheart," Linda said warmly, "and it's on the house." Marcus leaned back slightly, but his jaw was still tight. Jack leaned closer. "We need to talk." Ethan nodded. "Yeah, privately." Marcus turned his head toward Ari. "Hey champ, you'll be okay here for a second?" She nodded. "Yeah, I'll be okay." Jack placed his leather jacket beside her, almost like a symbol of protection. "No one touches you while that's there, you're safe." They stepped aside to a quiet corner near the jukebox. Cole kept his voice low. "We all saw that guy riding past earlier. He wasn't sightseeing, he was searching." Ethan crossed his arms. "And Ari's mom telling her to specifically find us, that's not coincidence." She knew someone dangerous might be close. Jack exhaled deeply. "We owe Hawk, after everything he did for us. If his daughter needs protection, we step up." Marcus didn't say anything yet. He wasn't just thinking about Hawk. He was thinking about the night everything went wrong, the night they lost him, and the promise that never stopped haunting him. Jack noticed the distant look in his eyes. "Marcus, talk to us." Marcus finally spoke, voice low and heavy. "If someone is coming after Hawk's kid, it means the people we thought disappeared didn't." Silence. The Iron Brotherhood had history that wasn't recorded in newspapers, history that involved loyalty, blood, betrayal, and a man who gave everything so others wouldn't get hurt. Ethan clenched his fists. You think it's them? Marcus didn't hesitate. Yeah, I do. Meanwhile, at the table, Ari picked up the milkshake, but her hands trembled. Linda noticed and sat down beside her for a moment. You okay, honey? Ari forced a smile. I'm fine, I just don't want to be a problem. Linda's heart cracked a little. Sweetheart, you're not a problem, you're a child who deserves to be safe, and if these men say you're protected, you are. Ari nodded softly, but in her eyes there was still something else. A question, a fear, a secret. The men returned. Marcus sat across from Ari. Ariana, we need you to tell us everything, every detail your mom told you, even the parts that might feel small. Ari took a shaky breath. She said if anything ever happened to her, I should find the men with the wing and chain tattoo. She said they're the only ones my dad trusted. She said they'd protect me. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. What else, Ari? Ari hesitated. Her fingers squeezed the milkshake cup tighter. She told me my dad didn't die in an accident like people said. She said he was taken from us because he stood up against the wrong men, and now those men might be back. She said if they ever found out I was still alive, her voice broke. They'd come for me too. Jack leaned forward slowly. Did she say who? Ari stared down at the table, then whispered a name like it burned to say it. The Black Vipers. Cole cursed under his breath. Ethan's face went pale. Marcus slowly looked toward the window because that name wasn't a rumor, it wasn't urban legend, it wasn't a ghost story, it was real, dangerous, and unfinished business. Outside, a black motorcycle passed slower this time, then parked, engine still running. The diner's bell chimed softly as the front door creaked. Boots stepped in, heavy, deliberate, searching. Ari's hand slowly slid toward Marcus's arm. Marcus didn't look at her. He didn't need to. He already knew. The past wasn't circling anymore. It had officially walked in. Because sometimes danger doesn't knock. Sometimes it takes a seat at the same table and looks you straight in the eyes. The diner suddenly felt smaller. Conversations that had once filled the room faded into uneasy murmurs as every pair of eyes shifted toward the entrance. The bell above the door jingled, too soft for the way tension crashed into the room. 3 men stepped inside, black leather jackets, cold, calculating eyes, the kind of presence that didn't belong anywhere good. They didn't make a scene, they didn't shout, they did something far more unsettling. They scanned. Like hunters, Marcus didn't move at first. Years of discipline kept him still. Jack's hand slipped under the table, resting calmly, but everyone at that booth knew it wasn't resting out of comfort. Cole shifted his chair slightly, body angling in front of Ari's view as if instinctively shielding her. Ethan stood slowly. Linda froze behind the counter. She'd seen rough people before, bikers, drunks, hot-headed teens, but whatever she felt looking at these men wasn't normal fear. It was dread. The tallest of the 3 men, dark beard, scar over his eyebrow, looked right at Marcus. Recognition flickered, a dangerous grin followed. Well, look who life dragged back into our path. Marcus didn't blink. You boys lost, Scar eyebrow chuckled. Now we're right where we need to be. Jack finally spoke, voice calm but sharp. Diners full of families. If you're here to eat, sit. If you're here to start something, take a different road. The man's gaze shifted. For a split second, only a second. His eyes locked on Ari. Her small fingers clenched Marcus's sleeve. Everything inside Marcus screamed. Scar eyebrow smiled again. There she is. Terror lanced through her chest. She didn't even breathe. Marcus stood, slow, controlled, deadly calm. You picked the wrong table, he said quietly. The other 2 vipers spread slightly, positioning themselves like men who'd done this before, like men who didn't care that children were present or that this was a public place. They weren't here for fear. They were here for retrieval. Scar eyebrow leaned forward on the table, voice low enough only to be heard by those close. You know how this works, Hale. The past doesn't stay buried. The kid is coming with us. Jack's jaw flexed. Cole stood too. Ethan moved closer to the front, blocking the exit. Linda whispered toward the cook, call the sheriff now. Her voice shook despite trying to sound brave. Marcus leaned in so close the 2 men nearly breathed the same air. Over my dead body, Scar eyebrow smirked. That can be arranged. Before tension could snap into chaos, another voice cut through the room like a blade. Enough. Everyone turned. An older man stood up from the far corner booth. Gray hair, measured eyes, calm posture, and authority radiating off him. Chief Raymond Turner, town sheriff for over 15 years. No badge visible, no fear visible either. He'd been sitting quietly the entire time. See, boys, Chief Turner continued coolly, you walked into the wrong town. And more importantly, into the wrong diner. The Vipers stiffened. They hadn't noticed him, they'd assumed control. Now control shifted, Scar eyebrows smugness cracked. Well, this just got complicated. The sheriff walked closer, hand resting casually near his holster. This girl isn't going anywhere with you, he said firmly. You want to have a conversation, we'll do it legally. If you want to cause trouble, you'll be spending the night somewhere very uncomfortable. The Vipers exchanged glances. Not scared, but calculating. The kind of men who didn't want law attention. Not yet, not here. Scar eyebrow straightened. This isn't finished. He tapped the table once. A message, a promise, a threat. Then they turned and walked out. Engines roared outside. Ari finally exhaled. She hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath. Jack shut his eyes for 1 second. Cole muttered, "Yeah, it never is." Chief Turner turned toward Marcus slowly. "You boys brought something dangerous back with you," he said quietly, "and something tells me this is only the surface." Marcus nodded once. "We didn't bring it, it followed her." The sheriff studied Ari, softened, then hardened again. "Then we protect her, whatever it takes." Ari finally spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "They know who I am, don't they?" Marcus knelt beside her. "They do," he said honestly. "And they're not going to stop," she whispered. Marcus didn't lie, he didn't sugarcoat. He gave her the truth, the kind of truth a brave girl deserved. "No, they're not, which means we stand between them and you." But deep inside, they all knew something terrifying. Those men didn't look like people searching. They looked like people who already had a plan. Because sometimes the danger isn't about who shows up, it's about what they've already set in motion long before they walked through the door. The diner slowly returned to motion, but the comfort never came back. People pretended to resume eating. Forks lifted, coffee cups clinked. But every conversation turned to whispers and every glance drifted toward Ari and the bikers. Fear didn't scream, it crawled quietly through the room. Chief Turner sat down with Marcus, Jack, Ethan, and Cole. The calm in his eyes wasn't relief, it was strategy. "Start talking," he said. Marcus nodded slowly. "You remember Daniel Parker?" The sheriff leaned back. "Hawk, I remember him better than most." Ari's eyes lit for a second. "You knew my dad too." Chief Turner softened slightly. "He saved my life once, and this town more times than folks ever knew." Ari held on to those words like they were something warm. Marcus continued. "The Black Vipers never forgave him for what happened years back. They lost money, power, a leader." His voice hardened. "They lost their control and they blamed Hawk for it." Ethan added quietly, "We thought they scattered after that. Turns out they didn't disappear. They regrouped. They waited." "And now," Cole finished, "they're back for what they think belongs to them." Chief Turner's jaw tightened. "What would they want with a child?" Marcus hesitated, then looked at Ari gently. "Show us what's in your bag." Ari blinked. "My bag, but it's just clothes," and Marcus's tone softened but didn't waver. "Sweetheart, did your mom give you anything? Something important, something to protect?" Ari swallowed. Her fingers shook as she slowly unzipped the bag. Inside were the expected things, a notebook, a sweater, a small teddy bear, a lunchbox, but at the bottom, wrapped tightly in cloth, was a small metal case, old, worn, locked. The room shifted. Jack exhaled. "Well, there it is." Chief Turner leaned closer. "May I?" Ari hesitated. "Mom said only people Dad trusted could touch it, and only when it was safe." Marcus nodded. "She's right to say that. Hawk wasn't careless." Chief Turner raised a brow. "Any idea what's in it?" Marcus stared at the box like it held ghosts. "Documents. Flash drive maybe, evidence, names, proof of things the Vipers never wanted exposed. Hawk got a hold of something years ago, something that could destroy them. And they think Ariana has it," the sheriff concluded. Ari hugged the bag close instinctively. Marcus placed his hand gently over hers. "You don't let this leave your sight, not ever." Chief Turner stood. "I'll arrange secure housing, somewhere safe, somewhere they won't expect." Jack shook his head. "They came straight here. They already knew to look in Ridgefield. They knew she'd be brought to us. Someone is feeding them information." The sheriff paused. That thought didn't sit well, not at all. "So what are you saying?" he asked slowly. Marcus's gaze darkened. "I'm saying they're not guessing, they're being guided." Ari's eyes moved between all of them. "So what happens now?" Marcus didn't break eye contact. "Now we keep you close, we protect you, we get answers, and we finish what your dad started." Before the sheriff could reply, the diner lights flickered. Just for a second, then again and again. The neon sign outside sputtered, then darkness. For a split second, there was absolute silence. Then fear hit, gasps, chairs scraping, Linda shouting to stay calm, dishes rattling. Ari grabbed Marcus's arm tighter. "What's happening?" Marcus had already moved. His instincts didn't panic, they calculated. Emergency lights flickered on dimly, bathing the room in a haunting red glow. Ethan cursed softly. "Power cut." Jack wasn't fooled. Not random, Chief Turner's voice sharpened. Stay alert, nobody moves. But the dread wasn't in the dark, it was in the intent behind it. The quiet hum outside disappeared, then slowly they heard it. Engines, multiple, deep, slow, and circling, the kind of sound that made your spine sit up straight. Marcus looked toward the front windows. No headlights, just silhouettes, positioning, waiting, trapping. Cole muttered under his breath. They didn't leave to back off, they left to prepare. Ari's heart pounded so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Marcus shifted closer to her. Stay behind me, do exactly as I say. The sheriff stepped forward, hand resting firm on his holster, now not cautious anymore, prepared. A shadow moved across the glass, then another, then more. They weren't trying to hide, they were sending a message. Chief Turner's voice was slow and controlled, but every word carried weight. They're not negotiating anymore. Marcus narrowed his eyes. Yeah, his voice dropped to a quiet promise. They're coming. Because sometimes danger doesn't just return for the past, sometimes it surrounds the present, cuts the power, and forces everyone to face what they've been running from head-on. The diner turned into a breathing heartbeat of fear. Every red emergency light pulsed against the walls, casting long shadows across faces that were trying desperately to stay calm. Outside, the sinister hum of motorcycles lingered like circling wolves waiting for the perfect second to strike. Marcus positioned himself between Ari and the windows without hesitation. Jack shifted to the right, watching every angle. Ethan edged toward the back exit. Cole moved closer to Linda and the shaken customers, quietly directing them toward the far side of the diner. Chief Turner stood in the center, voice steady and commanding. Nobody panics, nobody runs, stay low, stay quiet. Ari clung to Marcus's jacket. She wasn't crying, she wasn't screaming. But the way her small body shook told a story no words could. Marcus leaned closer. I've got you, no matter what happens, you stay right here, behind me, understand? She nodded, trusting him with a kind of blind faith only children and people with brave hearts could give. Outside, the engine suddenly cut off, silence. That silence was worse than the noise, because it meant intention. Movement rustled just beyond the glow of the red exit sign, figures circled, footsteps crunched on gravel, metal clicked. Ethan returned from the back entrance, jaw tight, back doors blocked. They pushed something heavy against it. Cole swore under his breath. So they're hurting us. Jack scanned the room, mind racing. They don't want a firefight in public. They'd rather pressure us, force compliance, scare everyone so we hand her over. Marcus shook his head. They don't scare us into anything. Chief Turner's voice tightened. It's not you I'm worried about, it's civilians in here. As if on cue, a child whimpered from a booth. A mother clutched her teenage son closer. An elderly couple grasped hands. Fear spreads fast when uncertainty leads. Bang, a hard knock slammed against the front glass. Everyone jumped, then another, not trying to break in, knocking, mocking. Scar Eyebrow's voice called from outside. Marcus Hale, this doesn't have to get ugly. You know who we want. Hand over the girl. And everyone else walks away untouched. Marcus's jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. Jack yelled back, you're not getting her. Silence for half a second, then laughter, cruel, cold, confident. Scar Eyebrow replied, you think this is bravery? No, this is stupidity. She's not a child to us. She's leverage, she's unfinished business, and we finish everything we start. Ari buried her face into Marcus's arm. Marcus felt rage claw into his chest. Hawk's daughter wasn't leverage, she was sacred. She was a promise. Chief Turner raised his voice, tone commanding and full of authority. This is Sheriff Turner. This building is full of innocent people. You push any further and this becomes a prison sentence you can't outrun. Silence again. Then Scar Eyebrow responded calmly. I don't fear jail and I don't fear you. The way he said it, quiet, confident, unbothered, made one thing terrifyingly clear. This wasn't a gang of impulsive thugs. This was strategy. Suddenly the diner door handle rattled. Linda gasped, someone screamed, a plate shattered. Marcus motioned sharply. Stay away from the entrance. Another loud thud hit the back wall, then the side, then the roof. They're surrounding the building, Ethan said under his breath. Jack nodded. They're testing us, seeing if we'll break. Chief Turner leaned closer to Marcus. If they wanted to storm in, they would have done it already. They're waiting for something. Cole's eyes darkened. Or someone. Ari finally spoke, voice trembling. This is because of me. Isn't it? Marcus turned immediately, gripping her shoulders gently. This isn't your fault, this is theirs, and they picked the wrong child to haunt. She nodded, but the guilt didn't leave her eyes, because kids always blame themselves for storms they didn't create. Outside, boots stopped moving. Engines restarted, not roaring, idling, waiting. Then Scar Eyebrow's voice returned. You've got 1 hour, bring the girl outside, or we stop being polite about this. The engines revved, then faded. leaving behind deafening silence. They didn't break in, they didn't leave. They positioned, they trapped, they set a timer on fear. Linda whispered, "What do we do?" Chief Turner slowly exhaled. "We prepare." Marcus closed his eyes for half a second. Hawk's voice echoed in memory. "If anything ever happens to me, take care of my family." Marcus opened his eyes again. There was no hesitation there anymore, only fire. "We don't hand her over," he said firmly. "We fight." Jack nodded. Ethan nodded. Cole nodded. And for the first time since stepping into Ridgefield, Ari didn't feel like a scared child. She felt protected. But outside that diner, a war had officially been declared. Because when enemies give you time, it's never mercy, it's preparation. And the countdown that just started isn't ticking toward escape, it's ticking toward impact. Time didn't move normally anymore. It didn't pass with seconds, it passed with heartbeats. Every tick of the clock on the diner wall felt louder than the one before. Every breath, every shifting chair, every whisper carried the weight of uncertainty. Outside, the town that once felt peaceful now felt like a place holding its breath. Chief Turner stepped toward the middle of the diner and addressed everyone calmly. "Listen up, stay together, stay low, stay quiet. This building is secure for now, but that doesn't mean we get careless." People nodded, some shaking, some clutching loved ones, some silently praying. Marcus leaned closer to Jack, Ethan, and Cole. "We can't treat this like random chaos. This is a chess game, and right now they think they've got us cornered. We need to flip the board." Jack nodded slowly. "The question is, how much are they willing to push before they snap?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Enough to break anyone standing between them and that girl." Ari sat in the booth again, hugging her backpack and trying to be small. Not invisible, just small. Like maybe if she didn't exist loud enough, she wouldn't be the reason everyone else was in danger. Linda slid a warm plate of fries in front of her. "I know you might not be hungry, sweetheart," she said gently, "but eat. It helps the body feel a little stronger when the mind is scared." Ari gave a weak smile and picked up a fry. "Thank you." Linda squeezed her shoulder softly, then returned to help other customers settle. Marcus walked over and sat beside Ari. "You doing okay?" She didn't lie. No, he appreciated that honesty more than any brave mask. "That's all right," he said quietly. "Being scared doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. What matters is what you do while you're scared." She looked at him, eyes glistening. "My dad, did he feel scared too when everything happened before?" Marcus didn't answer right away. He didn't rush. He told the truth. "Yeah, he did, but he never ran from it. He faced it so other people didn't have to. That's what made him strong, not the bike, not the tattoos, not the reputation." He gently tapped her chest. "This, his heart, same one you've got." Tears welled, but she nodded. That moment of quiet paused when Chief Turner joined them. "Marcus, I need clarity," the sheriff said. "Back then, when everything went down with the Black Vipers, what didn't get finished?" Marcus took a breath. "The Vipers weren't just a gang, they had connections. Money flowing through places it shouldn't, laundering, illegal shipments, and Hawk found proof. He gathered names, paper trails, accounts, and he hid it, because if it got out, the whole operation collapses." Chief Turner rubbed his jaw, "And they think that proof is in that little case." "They don't think," Marcus said, "they know." Ari squeezed her backpack tighter. Ethan approached quickly. "We've got movement." Everyone turned toward the windows, not engines this time, cars unmarked. Chief Turner moved first, hand instinctively on his holster, until he recognized one of the silhouettes stepping out. Deputies, back up. Relief washed across the room like a brief warm wind. Jack exhaled. "Well, that helps." Chief Turner radioed, communicating fast, sharp, controlled. Deputies formed exterior positions. Some guarded rear exits, others created a barrier. Civilians inside began breathing again, not safe but less alone. Scar Eyebrow's voice echoed faintly from somewhere outside. "You think cops change anything? They're just obstacles." Marcus's expression hardened. "They're getting desperate now." Chief Turner smirked slightly. "Let them be. Desperate men make mistakes." Ari looked between the men, her voice trembling. "So what happens if they break through?" Marcus didn't sugarcoat. "Then they meet us." Something shifted in her eyes, not fear. Something stronger quietly took its place. Chief Turner walked toward the front of the diner. "Everyone listen to me," he said. "There's protection here now, there is law, there is strength, and there is unity. That combination doesn't break." For a while, there was something like peace, an uneasy peace, but still peace, until a deputy rushed inside. "Sheriff, you need to see this." Chief Turner followed him out. Jack looked at Marcus. Ethan followed. Marcus hesitated, then stood slowly. Ari reached out and grabbed his arm. "Please, don't leave me." He turned back and crouched eye level. "I'm not leaving you, I'm stepping away for a second, but you're not alone. Look around, no one here would ever let anything happen to you, I promise." She nodded reluctantly. Marcus stepped outside. The sheriff pointed at something on the diner window, a single object taped to the glass, a photo, a picture of Ari taken recently, too recently. Marcus's blood ran cold, the sheriff's voice roughened. They've been closer than we thought. And behind that photo, a message scribbled in bold ink. We always get what we came for. Marcus's hands curled into fists, because threats whispered in darkness are one thing, threats made face to face are something else entirely. Because it's one thing when danger surrounds you, it's something far more terrifying when you realize it's been standing close long enough to watch, to follow, and to choose its moment carefully. The photo fluttered slightly in the night breeze, but the threat written across it didn't move. It settled into everyone's chest like stone. Marcus stared at the picture longer than he should have. Ari, smiling, standing in front of a gas station. That wasn't taken days ago. That was recent. Too recent. Which meant there weren't just men outside watching them. There had been eyes on her long before this moment. Chief Turner's jaw tightened as he studied it. This isn't just intimidation. This is declaration. They're saying, we're closer than you think. We've already been near her. We could have taken her any time, but we chose now. Jack looked out toward the darkness. So why now? Why tonight? Why force it here? Marcus didn't hesitate. Because they finally think they're cornering us, and men like them love control. They'll break anything to prove they have it. Ethan scanned the shadows. Then we need to take control back. Chief Turner motioned for one of his deputies. Secure the perimeter tighter. No one gets closer without you knowing their shoe size. Yes, sir. The diner doors opened again as the men stepped back inside. The sight of them seemed to steady everyone. People looked for strength in the strongest faces, and the strongest faces refused to crack. Ari hadn't let go of her backpack the entire time. When Marcus came back in, she searched his face like she was trying to read his soul. What did they do? She asked softly. Marcus didn't hide the truth. They're trying to scare us. Is it working? She whispered. He thought about lying. He didn't. It's making us angry, he said instead. And anger, when used right, can be powerful. She nodded slowly. Cole leaned against the table. So what's the plan, boss? Marcus hated the word boss, but in moments like this, leadership wasn't assigned, it was recognized. We split responsibility, he said. Sheriff handles external defense. We handle inside, no blind corners, every window watched, every entrance covered, and Ari doesn't move without one of us. Jack nodded. Agreed. Ethan cracked his neck like he was gearing up for more than just talking. Let them try something stupid. Chief Turner walked floor to floor, speaking to civilians, reassuring them, giving instructions, organizing the chaos with firm calmness. People weren't just scared anymore, they were bracing. Linda approached Ari again with a warm smile, though her hands were shaking slightly. Hey, sweetheart, can I get you anything else? Ari shook her head. No, ma'am. Linda tucked a strand of hair behind Ari's ear. You're very brave, you know that, Ari swallowed. I don't feel brave. Linda smiled gently. Real bravery never feels like bravery, it feels like not giving up. Those words settled into Ari's heart. Then the front door rattled again. Everyone snapped to alert, a deputy panting urgent. Sheriff, his breath caught. They're not just surrounding us anymore. Chief Turner's spine stiffened. Marcus leaned forward slightly. The entire diner fell silent. What do you mean? The sheriff demanded. The deputy took a breath. They've started blocking the roadways in and out of town. Marcus cursed under his breath. They're locking the town down. Jack's fists tightened. They're escalating. Chief Turner frowned. That makes no sense. The more public this gets, the more attention they draw. This isn't smart. Marcus shook his head. It isn't stupidity. It clicked in his mind. It wasn't about panic. It wasn't about chaos. It was about delay. He turned sharply to Ari. Ariana. When did you last talk to your mom? Exactly. Ari blinked. This morning, before she dropped me here. Did she say anything else? Marcus pressed gently. Anything at all? Ari tried to remember, then suddenly her eyes widened. She said, they're getting impatient. They're moving faster than we thought. If something happens to me today, she stopped. Linda covered her mouth. Marcus felt the air leave his lungs. Chief Turner stepped closer. Say the rest, sweetheart. Ari's voice cracked as tears finally spilled. She said, if something happens today, find the men with the tattoo. They won't let you disappear like your dad did. And in that moment, everybody understood something horrifying. This wasn't only about Ari. This wasn't only about what she carried. Something had happened to her mother, something the Vipers didn't want them to think about. Marcus looked toward the diner windows again, not at the shadows, but beyond them, because somewhere out there, possibly right now, someone Ari loved more than anything might be fighting for her life. Chief Turner's face hardened. This just stopped being defensive. Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah, his eyes burned with something fierce now. This just became rescue. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, or maybe that wasn't thunder, maybe it was engines, maybe it was war getting closer, because keeping Ari safe was no longer the only mission. Finding the woman who trusted them enough to send her child here now mattered just as much, because there's a different kind of fear that hits when you realize the danger isn't just coming for you, it may have already reached the people you love before you even had a chance to fight back. The weight of realization pressed down like a storm cloud ready to burst. Ari's mother wasn't just missing, she was part of the reason all of this was happening, and the Vipers weren't waiting for negotiation. They were buying time. Marcus paced slowly, mind racing. Jack stood motionless, jaw tight. Ethan leaned against a wall, knuckles white. Cole stared toward the windows like he could burn holes through the darkness just by glaring hard enough. Chief Turner spoke first. If the Vipers already moved on her mother, then this isn't just about leverage anymore. This is about shutting every voice tied to Hawk permanently. Marcus stopped walking. No, this is about erasing a legacy. He looked at Ari. This is about making sure his story dies with the last people who knew it. Ari wiped her tears, hands shaking. So what happens to my mom? Marcus knelt again and gripped her shoulders gently. We find her, he said firmly. We don't leave her behind, not your father, not your mother, not you. Family doesn't get abandoned. Chief Turner nodded slowly. Problem is, if the Vipers have her, they won't keep her somewhere predictable. Ethan spoke up quietly. They don't need a predictable place, they need a controlled one. Cole frowned. Meaning somewhere isolated, somewhere they can disappear to if things get loud, somewhere they've used before. Jack understood immediately. Away from town but close enough to reach quick, back roads, industrial zones, old highway stops. Chief Turner exhaled. There's an abandoned freight yard 12 miles east, been shut down for years, scrap metal, old storage garages, long stretch of road leading to it. Marcus nodded. And plenty of room to threaten someone without witnesses. Ari's lips trembled again. Then why are we still here? The question was small, but it pierced through all of them like a blade. Marcus didn't hesitate this time. We're not. Jack looked at Chief Turner. You hold the diner, protect everyone here, keep Ari safe while we… Ari cut him off instantly. No, they turned. She stood now instead of sitting, weak legs, strong spirit. If you go, I go, she said, voice shaking but determined. She sent me to you, she trusted you, and if she's scared, I won't sit here pretending I'm safe while she is. Linda whispered softly, oh honey, Chief Turner frowned. It's too dangerous. Ari swallowed hard. So is being trapped like prey while everyone outside circles me. Silence washed over the booth because she wasn't wrong. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. She didn't look like a helpless child anymore. She looked like Hawk's daughter, strong, stubborn, protective. He took a breath. She's right, keeping her boxed in here paints a bigger target. They don't want witnesses, they don't want hostages, they want leverage. If we disappear from inside town, they lose control. Chief Turner didn't like it at all, but he wasn't blind to strategy. And you're proposing, Marcus looked at him directly. We move her carefully, quietly, with decoys, shift the game, make them chase instead of surrounding. Jack smirked slightly. Flip the board, Chief Turner nodded slowly. I can coordinate a convoy, unmarked patrol vehicles. Off-road route, lights off, stagger patterns so they can't track easily. Cole cracked his knuckles. Let them try to follow, I'd love to escort a chase they can't win. Ethan glanced at Ari. You understand, once we start moving, there's no backing out. Things will get loud, scary, maybe worse, she nodded. I'm not running anymore. There was something powerful in that sentence. It didn't belong to a child. It belonged to someone claiming courage they never asked for but inherited anyway. Plans formed quickly, deputies checked vehicles, routes were calculated, radio call signs assigned. Linda hugged Ari tightly before she left the booth. You be brave and come back, you hear me? Ari hugged back. I will. Marcus slid his jacket around her shoulders. It swallowed her frame, but it didn't weigh her down. It wrapped her in protection, in history, in belonging. Chief Turner signaled his men, let's move. The diner doors opened, night air rushed in, cold but alive. Engines started, not the Viper's predatory rumble, but controlled strategic motion. Vehicles positioned, paths cleared. Marcus guided Ari carefully. Jack to the right, Ethan to the left, Cole behind, Chief Turner ahead, a shield of loyalty. The first step outside felt like stepping into a different world. A world where everything mattered, where every sound was threat or safety, where every breath felt heavier. Ari didn't look back at the diner. She looked forward, toward darkness, toward danger. Toward answers. Marcus glanced at her. You doing okay? She nodded. I'm ready. And somewhere watching from the shadows, someone else was ready too, because once you take the first step toward truth, you have to be prepared for whatever truth brings with it. The convoy rolled into the night like a silent storm, headlights off, engines controlled, movements calculated. Chief Turner's lead vehicle guided the way, followed by two unmarked patrol SUVs and the bikers flanking like armored guardians. The open highway stretched ahead, swallowed by darkness and wind. Ari sat in the backseat of Marcus's SUV, clutching his jacket around her shoulders like armor. The rhythmic hum of the road beneath the tires should have been comforting. It was. She watched the night through the window, eyes scanning the shadows she couldn't see but could feel. For the first time, she wasn't thinking about fear. She was thinking about her mother. Jack sat in the front passenger seat, scanning the mirror constantly while Ethan rode ahead on his bike and Cole tailed behind, ready for whatever the night decided to become. Chief Turner's voice chimed through the secure radio. "Convoy status check. Unit 2 clear," a deputy replied. "Unit 3 clear," Cole added. Marcus lifted the radio. "We're steady," the sheriff replied. "We keep east for another 6 miles, then cut onto the freight road. No sirens, no lights, quiet as ghosts." Marcus smirked faintly. "Ghosts don't fight back." Jack cracked a half smile. "But we do." They exited the last stretch of town and drifted into the stretch of highway that barely saw cars anymore. Old billboards flickered past, rusted gas stations long abandoned, a world forgotten by most people but perfect for people with secrets. Ari finally spoke, voice soft but steady. "Marcus, what if we're wrong? What if they're not where you think? What if we're walking into something worse?" Marcus didn't lie to her. "We might be," he said honestly. "But your father didn't raise a man who backs down when people need him, and he didn't leave behind a daughter who does either." She held to those words like warmth. The radio crackled. "Eyes up," Chief Turner's voice warned. "We've got a shadow tail." Marcus checked his mirror. A single headlight, far back, too steady, too intentional. Ethan's voice came through the comm. "That's not just anyone rolling late, that's someone following." Cole's engine growled gently. "Want me to take a closer look?" Chief Turner replied. "Negative, don't spook them yet. If that bike's Vipers, we keep leading them away from town. If it isn't Vipers, we'll find out the right way." Marcus kept his tone calm so Ari wouldn't panic. "It's okay, we expected this." But every mile they traveled made it clearer this wasn't coincidence. This was pursuit. The convoy finally turned onto the lonely freight road. The world shifted instantly. Civilization faded. The gravel path vibrated beneath them. Old rail tracks curved parallel. The silhouettes of forgotten shipping containers loomed like giants in the dark. "This is it," Chief Turner said. "Stay sharp." Ethan rolled ahead, scouting. Cole stayed back. Jack glanced at Marcus. "Feels like a trap." Marcus nodded slightly. "It does." Ari's heart pounded harder. "What kind of trap?" Jack looked back, voice gentle. "The kind where we walk in prepared and walk out standing." Ethan's voice suddenly sharpened over radio. "Movement at the yard." Marcus straightened. Chief Turner slowed, then stopped. Engines idled, dust drifted through the headlights like fog in a battlefield. They were no longer alone. Figures shifted near the freight containers, shapes, shadows, presence. Scar Eyebrow's voice echoed from the darkness. "Nice convoy, nice plan, shame it ends here." Ari's breath hitched. They'd been waiting here. This wasn't pursuit, this was arrival. Chief Turner stepped out slowly, hand near his holster, but not reckless. Deputies followed, spreading, securing angles without firing a spark of panic. Marcus opened his door. "Ari," he said firmly but gently. "Stay down, no sudden moves, no sound unless I tell you." She nodded, gripping the metal case in her bag. Jack stepped out too. Ethan slowly cut his engine. Cole tightened his gloves. The freight yard lights flickered on, one by one, flooding the entire place with harsh white glare. There they stood, the black Vipers, dozens, lined across the yard, confident, ready, hungry. Scar Eyebrow stepped forward, smirk in place. "You ran pretty far just to end up exactly where we wanted you." Marcus stared at him without fear. "Then you're about to regret wanting it." Scar Eyebrow laughed. "You're outnumbered, outgunned, outpositioned, but sure talk tough." Then he pointed directly toward Ari's SUV. "That girl belongs to us." And in that blinding flood of industrial light, the line between safety and war finally snapped. Because there's a moment when running stops, when hiding ends, and when the only thing left is the collision that's been coming from the very beginning, and that moment has finally arrived. For a moment, the world didn't feel real. Floodlights burned across the freight yard, turning shadows into harsh reality. Rusted containers stood like steel tombstones. Gravel crunched beneath boots. Wind whistled through hollow metal frames. And in the middle of it all, a child, held behind the shield of men who refused to break. Scar Eyebrow took his time walking forward, boots stopping right at the line of confrontation. His eyes didn't bother hiding what he felt: confidence, ownership, danger. "Let's skip the theatrics," he said casually. "Hand the girl over and the rest of you drive away breathing." Chief Turner stood strong in front of him, voice unwavering. "This isn't your playground. This is daylight with artificial lights. There are witnesses. There are officers. There are consequences." Scar eyebrow smirked. "You think consequences scare men like us?" Marcus stepped forward beside the sheriff. "No, but failure does." The Viper leader studied him. "Marcus Hale, loyal, predictable, always the shield, always the hero. Problem is heroes are easy to break, you just hit what they care about." His gaze shifted again, back to the SUV, back to Ari. "She's costing you too much. Protection, resources, blood, time. Hawk wasn't worth it, neither is she." Marcus didn't blink. "You wouldn't understand worth if your life depended on it." Jack stood ready. Cole stayed coiled like a spring. Ethan silently scanned every angle. The deputies tightened formation. Hands hovered near weapons without drawing them. The freight yard felt like it was inhaling, holding its breath, waiting for something to ignite. Scar eyebrow sighed dramatically. "Fine, conversation's boring me." He snapped his fingers. Two Vipers dragged somebody forward, bound wrists, blindfolded. Bruised, Ari saw the figure and sound escaped her like air suddenly ripped from lungs. "Mom!" Her voice cracked everything. Marcus's chest burned. Jack's fists clenched so hard his knuckles blanched white. Even Chief Turner's stare hardened further. Scar eyebrows smiled with sick satisfaction. "Now the conversation's interesting." They ripped the blindfold off. There she was, Naomi Parker, Ari's mother, exhausted, shaken, but alive. Her eyes darted desperately until she found the SUV. Tears immediately filled them. "My baby, Ariana," Ari cried, pressing her hand against the window. Marcus swallowed hard. "They had her the entire time," Scar eyebrow shrugged. "Of course we did, she's been useful, but the kid, she's the finale. She finishes the story Hawk wouldn't let end." Chief Turner's voice thundered with warning. "You hurt her, you cross a line you'll never crawl back from." The Viper leader chuckled softly. "Oh, Sheriff, the line disappeared the moment Hawk decided to betray us." He turned his attention back to Marcus. "So here's how this goes. You walk the girl over here, we release Mommy, nice little exchange, then we vanish," or he tilted his head. "We take both anyway." It wasn't a negotiation, it was a trap wearing false courtesy. Marcus's heartbeat thudded like a hammer. If they refused, the Vipers would retaliate. If they complied, Ari would never be seen again. He looked back inside the SUV. Ari shook her head desperately. "Please don't trade me." Marcus met her eyes. "I would never do that to you." The floodlights hummed louder, engines growled, hands twitched. Chief Turner leaned slightly toward Marcus without looking at him. "They want us reactive, think clearly, they want panic, give them strategy instead." Marcus nodded. Then a sudden realization slammed into him. They hadn't brought Naomi just for leverage, they brought her to distract. He scanned quickly. Where were the other Vipers? Not all were visible, some were missing from formation. His instinct screamed. "Eyes up," he barked. "They're not just here, they've positioned snipers." Almost instantly, a crack split the night, a warning shot not aimed to kill, just to remind. Ari screamed. Naomi flinched. Several deputies shielded civilians instinctively. Scar eyebrow clapped slowly. "There it is, that fear again. Beautiful, isn't it?" Marcus's voice dropped to ice. "You really think this ends with you walking away free?" The Viper leader smiled with something dark. "No. I think it ends with us proving that anyone tied to Hawk Parker will always bleed for it." Naomi's voice broke across the yard. "Ariana, listen to me, you don't let them touch you, you hear me? Your father died protecting truth. If you run now, everything he died for disappears." Ari cried harder, hands shaking, courage and terror clashing inside a heart too young to carry such weight. Marcus took a breath he didn't feel he owned. Choices stood at the cliff's edge: protect, fight, lose, save, risk it all. Jack whispered tightly, "Call it, brother." Ethan gripped his handlebars. Cole adjusted his stance. Chief Turner steadied his weapon, and somewhere between fear and determination, a spark ignited. Because this wasn't about gang power, this wasn't about revenge, this wasn't about intimidation, this was about family, promises, history refusing to stay buried. This was about Hawk Parker and the unfinished war he left behind, because at a certain point, protection stops being defense and becomes a vow written in loyalty, in courage, and in the willingness to stand between darkness and the people who can't fight it themselves. And that vow was about to be tested in the most dangerous way yet. The freight yard held its breath, floodlights buzzed overhead, gravel cracked beneath shifting boots. Engines rumbled low like caged thunder. Naomi stood trapped between two Vipers, wrists bound, fear living in her eyes, but not for herself, for her daughter. For Marcus tightened his stance. Chief Turner positioned his officers. Jack and Cole moved subtly, closing small gaps. Ethan's hand twitched near his holstered sidearm. Scar eyebrow stretched his smile wider. Tick-tock, gentlemen, you have 30 seconds to decide whether the kid walks or we start making examples. Ari watched everything through the SUV window. Her heart pounded so loud she could hear it over the noise. She didn't feel small anymore. She felt furious. Naomi lifted her chin. You won't touch my daughter, Scar eyebrow laughed softly. Lady, you underestimate how little we care about what you think. That laughter was the wrong choice. Something inside Marcus snapped. He stepped forward slowly, eyes locked, voice edged with steel. You want her because Hawk outsmarted you, because he exposed you, because he didn't bow to you, because he proved you weren't untouchable. Scar eyebrows smirk faltered. Marcus continued. You think taking his child makes you powerful. It doesn't. It makes you cowards who couldn't beat the man, so now you're trying to erase his memory. The men behind the Viper leader shifted uneasily. Naomi's tears fell. Ari's chest swelled. Scar eyebrow forced a smile back on. Nice speech, inspiring even, but courage doesn't rewrite reality. And right now reality is this. He snapped his fingers. Two more Vipers stepped forward, dragging another man, roughly, painfully, blood on his lip, bruise on his cheek, face exhausted but familiar. Marcus froze. Cole's breath hitched. Jack's fists tightened. Ethan cursed under his breath. Chief Turner's eyes darkened because the man they dragged forward was someone who shouldn't have been here, someone they trusted, someone they never thought would stand on the wrong side of this war. Deputy Ryan Keller, Chief Turner's voice dropped. Ryan, what the hell are you doing here? Ryan laughed hollowly. He wasn't tied. He wasn't beaten into obedience. He stood with the Vipers willingly. Scar eyebrow patted his shoulder. See. You boys never understood. We don't just threaten from outside, we build inside. Ryan's voice cracked with bitterness. You think Parker was some hero. He got people killed, my brother died because of him, and you, he glared at Marcus, followed him like he was some saint. Marcus stared. That's what they told you. Ryan's jaw flexed. It's what happened. Naomi shook her head fiercely. Your brother died because he chose the wrong side. Hawk tried to save him. Hawk begged him to walk away before it was too late. Ryan shouted back, voice full of years of pain he never knew where to place. Lies, Scar eyebrow grinned. Oh, this is beautiful. Old wounds, fresh pain, betrayal, exactly my kind of night. Chief Turner spoke with authority that thundered. Ryan, you lower yourself to this, you don't come back from it. Ryan's expression broke, then hardened again. I already crossed that line. Marcus exhaled slowly, then something happened. Ari made a decision no one expected. Before anyone could stop her, before anyone could shout, she opened the SUV door. Cold air hit her face, floodlights blinded her, the world gasped. Marcus turned instantly. Ariana, no, Scar eyebrow lit up with delight. There she is, Naomi screamed, voice tearing from her soul. Ari, no, but Ari didn't run, she didn't freeze, she walked out, small, shaking, terrified, and brave, every gun shifted, every eye locked. Marcus stepped in front of her immediately, shielding her with his body. What are you doing? He breathed sharply, her voice shook, but her words didn't. If I keep hiding, someone else gets hurt because of me. My mom, these people, you, she swallowed tears. They came for me, I'm right here. Scar eyebrow smiled with wicked approval. That's the spirit, kid. Marcus's heart broke for her courage. Chief Turner whispered, Marcus, we can't let this happen. Marcus didn't plan to, but Ari wasn't done. She reached slowly into her backpack, hands trembling, heart racing. Trusting the promise Hawk left behind, she pulled out the metal case. The Vipers tensed instantly. Scar eyebrow's eyes glowed greedily. There it is. Ari held it to her chest. You want this, fine, but you don't get me, Ryan scoffed. You don't negotiate with them, kid. But Scar eyebrow didn't scoff. He stared, because the little girl standing in front of him didn't look afraid anymore. She looked like something he remembered. She looked like Hawk. Naomi sobbed. Marcus swallowed hard. Jack muttered, she's her father, and for one flicker of a second, power shifted. Because courage changes ground. Even when you're outnumbered, outgunned, surrounded, courage unsettles the enemy. And what Ari just showed them wasn't weakness, it was a warning. Because sometimes the loudest strength doesn't come from force, it comes from a trembling voice refusing to bow. And that kind of strength has a way of changing the entire battlefield. The freight yard no longer felt like a battlefield, it felt like a crossroads. Floodlights blazed down like harsh judgment from above. The cold air cut against skin. Gravel beneath everyone's boots seemed to vibrate with tension, and in the center a little girl holding a metal case that could destroy everything the Black Vipers built. Ari didn't hide behind Marcus anymore, she didn't look away, she didn't shake as much now. Scar Eyebrow studied her like a man who had never been challenged by a child before and wasn't sure whether to laugh or step back. She drew breath. My dad died trying to protect people. You say he ruined your power, you say he broke you, but if taking someone's daughter is what makes you feel strong, then you were never strong to begin with. The freight yard fell silent. Even the engines seemed to stop breathing. Ryan blinked, his anger paused by shock. Marcus watched her with pride burning through his fear. Jack whispered, "That's Hawk's kid," Naomi cried softly. Scar Eyebrow forced a smirk. "Cute speech, brave, your dad would be proud, but bravery doesn't matter if it ends with you in chains." He waved his hand. Two vipers stepped forward. Marcus instantly stepped back between them and Ari. "You take one more step," he warned, voice low and lethal, "and this ends very differently." Chief Turner lifted his weapon. Deputies followed. Every second tightened like a knot. Scar Eyebrow sighed dramatically. "I'm tired of talking." He looked at Ryan. "Do it." Ryan froze. "What?" Scar Eyebrow's voice sharpened. "Finish this." Ryan's throat tightened. Marcus understood immediately. They weren't just testing loyalty. They wanted Ryan to stain his hands forever, to make betrayal permanent, to prove ownership. Ryan's pulse thundered, hands shook, every inch of him screamed with conflict. Chief Turner locked eyes with him. "Ryan, son, this isn't you." Ryan's jaw clenched. "You don't know what being haunted feels like." Marcus spoke softly but firmly. "Yes, I do," Ryan snapped. You don't live every day knowing your brother died screaming." Marcus didn't break. He didn't scream because of Hawk. He screamed because the Vipers controlled him. He screamed because they lied to him, manipulated him, they used him, and you've been punishing the wrong people ever since. Scar Eyebrow rolled his eyes. This therapy session boring anyone else. But Ryan wasn't laughing. His breathing was fractured, eyes glossy, mind cracking open. Naomi stepped forward despite being held back. "Ryan, listen to me. Your brother wasn't abandoned. Hawk saved us during that operation. He carried wounded men on his back when everyone else ran. He tried to get your brother out. The Vipers shot at both of them. Hawk shielded him until he physically couldn't anymore." Silence. Ryan's expression shattered. Scar Eyebrow scowled. "Enough." Grabbed Ryan by the collar and jerked him closer. "You work for me, you obey me, you don't think, you don't feel, you finish what we started." Ryan didn't resist physically, but something in him shifted emotionally. He whispered, "How long have you been lying to me?" Scar Eyebrow leaned close, voice venomous. "Long enough to own you," Marcus snapped. "There it is, truth. They never wanted justice for your brother. They wanted a weapon, and you've been loading their gun for years." Ryan's breath trembled. A second hung in time. He looked at Naomi, at Ari, at Chief Turner, then at Marcus. He made a decision, a dangerous one. He shoved Scar Eyebrow's hand off his shirt. "I'm done being your dog." Gasps rippled, weapons clicked, vipers tensed instantly. Scar Eyebrow's expression morphed into genuine fury. "You ungrateful!" Ryan moved faster than anyone expected. He yanked a viper's arm down, disarming him in a brutal, swift pull. Chaos cracked the silence. Deputies shouted. Vipers surged. Marcus lunged forward. Ethan revved his engine like thunder. Cole stepped into fight stance. And Ari, still clutching the case, was shoved backward by Naomi's scream and a desperate attempt to reach her. Scar Eyebrow shouted orders, voice booming through the yard. "Forget the cop, get the girl," Naomi cried out as one of the vipers yanked her back hard. "Ari," Marcus turned, too late to stop it. A masked viper broke formation and sprinted straight toward Ari. Fast, precise. Deadly intent in every step. Ari stumbled backward. Her foot slipped on gravel. The metal case clanged against the ground. Marcus roared, "Ariana!" But the man was already reaching her, already extending his hand, already inches away. And in that single frozen moment before collision, everything balanced between salvation and loss. Time didn't slow, it shattered. The masked viper lunged toward Ari, boots tearing across gravel, hand outstretched, ready to end everything the black vipers couldn't bury with bullets and lies. Marcus sprinted. "Ayarana!" Ari stumbled backward, palms scraping rock, breath ripping from her chest. The world blurred, floodlights burned white, the air charged with danger. But before the viper could grab her, a gunshot split the night, not reckless, not wild, precise. The viper's shoulder jerked violently. He spun, crashing hard into the ground. Ryan stood behind him, weapon still raised, eyes blazing. "I'm done letting you take from me," he growled. The yard exploded into chaos. Deputies engaged, engines roared, vipers charged. Marcus reached Ari, dropping to shield her, arms around her like an unbreakable wall. I got you," he cried. She clung to him, shaking but breathing alive. Naomi screamed as a viper dragged her back, using her as leverage. Scar Eyebrow roared over the chaos, rage shaking his voice. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. He grabbed Naomi harshly and pulled a weapon against her temple. Everyone stop or she dies. The world froze mid-motion. Deputies halted. Jack stopped advancing. Cole lifted his hands slowly. Ethan held his position. Even the wind seemed to hold back. Naomi's breathing was ragged, but her eyes stayed locked on one thing and one thing only: her daughter. Marcus lowered slightly, pushing Ari behind him again. Scar eyebrows sneered. "Give me the girl, and maybe mommy breathes another minute." Ari stepped forward on instinct. Marcus grabbed her wrist, shaking his head desperately. "No, no, not like this." Scar eyebrows' expression twisted. "This family has cost me everything. Tonight he didn't finish." Ryan tackled him from behind. The gun went flying. Naomi fell to her knees. Scar eyebrow roared with fury as he and Ryan slammed into gravel, fists flying, years of hate exploding in raw violence. "Ari," Naomi cried. She crawled forward, arms shaking, grabbing her daughter, finally holding her again. Their sob broke through the battlefield louder than any engine. I'm here, baby, I'm right here." Ari buried her face into her mother's chest. "I thought I lost you. You never will," Naomi whispered. "Not as long as I breathe." Marcus stood over them, shielding, guarding, refusing to let the world near them. Chief Turner shouted orders. "Move, contain them," deputies surged. Vipers fell back, some fled, some fought, some dropped their weapons when they realized they'd lost. Cole dropped 2 men with brutal precision. Jack stood like a force of nature, refusing to let anyone through. Ethan swung off his bike and brawled like he'd been waiting his whole life for this night. Ryan landed one final punch, slamming Scar eyebrows' head into gravel. He rolled him over, pressing his knee into his back, gun pointed downward. Scar eyebrow spat blood. "This isn't over. Someone will always replace me. Someone will always." Chief Turner stepped forward. "No," he slapped cuffs hard around his wrists. "It ends here." Floodlights flickered as the yard pulsed with sirens. Backup arrived, more units poured in. Vipers were escorted, weapons confiscated. Faces pushed to the dirt. The freight yard that once held fear now held justice. Marcus turned to Ari and Naomi. "You're safe now," he whispered. Naomi reached up and held his hand. "You kept my daughter safe, just like you promised Hawk." Marcus swallowed. "He was my brother. I don't break those kinds of promises." Ari looked up through tears. "Was my dad really a hero?" Marcus smiled softly. "He wasn't perfect. He wasn't invincible, but he was brave. He did the right thing when it cost everything, and that's what makes someone a hero." She nodded. A quiet peace finally touched her eyes. Ryan stood nearby, breathing heavy, eyes hollow with reality setting in. Chief Turner approached him carefully. "You're going to answer for what you did," he said honestly. "But tonight you helped save lives. That matters." Ryan nodded, tears finally spilling. "I just wanted the truth." Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "You got it tonight. Now build something better from it." As dawn began to bleed into the horizon, orange kissed the freight yard sky. The danger was over. The storm had passed. The world began to breathe again. Naomi hugged Ari tightly. Marcus stepped back beside Jack, Cole, and Ethan. Jack exhaled. "Think Hawk would be proud." Marcus didn't hesitate. "He already is." The wind shifted softly, almost like something unseen smiled. Ari stood again and walked toward Marcus, hugging him. "Thank you for being my dad's brother when I needed one most." He hugged her back with careful strength. "You'll always have us, always." Family didn't only mean blood. Sometimes it meant loyalty. Sometimes it meant courage. Sometimes it meant strangers who refused to let darkness win. The freight yard slowly emptied as arrests were finalized, engines quieted, and morning light washed away the night. A story that began with fear ended in strength. A journey that began with loss ended in unity. A child who once searched for answers now stood knowing her father's legacy wasn't death. It was protection. It was courage. It was love. Because sometimes the past doesn't return to haunt you. Sometimes it returns to remind you who you still are, what you still stand for, and who you refuse to let fall no matter the cost. And when people like that stand together, darkness never gets the last word.